I knew it was going to come in like that. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. A while back, I made a little promise to you guys, because early on I was covering extreme metal a lot more frequently. Let's revive the heavy side of the channel. So I have to keep that promise and keep things heavy pretty often, because the entire reason I revived this YouTube channel was to highlight rock and metal bass players who often get overlooked due to the jazz and the funk guys. So today we're getting brutal with a new track from the band Cryptopsy, who just released their 9th studio album, An Insatiable Violence, back in June here in 2025. And they're about to kick off a huge US tour as direct support for the mighty Nile. It actually kicks off today in Raleigh, North Carolina. Get your tickets yesterday. And I'd like to give a special shout out to Season of Mist Records, who put this bass playthrough on my radar for today's song, played by bassist Oli Pinard. And I'm sure that's pronounced with a nice, eloquent French dialect. I need to look up an interview and see how it's actually pronounced.
Sure had to team up with my brother, Oli Pinard.
Yeah, whatever he said. And I'm excited for this one because it's been a long while since we did a good old death metal bass playthrough analysis. I used to do these all the time here on the channel. So here's Oli playing through Cryptopsy's new song, Until There's Nothing Left. Hope I have the right tone for this. Probably pretty gnarly. Oh, guys, they're going to jump scare me. Ah! I knew it was going to come in like that. Just slammed in the face with extreme metal. Okay, got that out of the way. Let's start it over and jump into this thing. Boom! Almost. Woo! Wow. I don't think I have the right tone for this. Ooh, some slap. Very nice. Okay, I have a lot of different audiences and fans of different styles of music that watch this channel. I know some of you are inevitably going to say this isn't your thing. I get it, but if you can wade past, maybe the intensity that might be off-putting to you, because it used to be for me too, and I love this stuff now. These extreme metal bass players are freaks of nature. They show you how it's done. The stamina, the endurance, the precision, the technicality. Just masters at their craft, and that's what initially drew me into it as a bass player. I think that was kind of my gateway into extreme metal, because I was all about technicality and the studious academic side of playing bass when I first started. And even though I wasn't warmed up to this style of music at first, I could sift through it and see how talented they were. I mean, just look at the endurance and stamina required for something like this. I do have a bit of a gnarly patch. Let me just see if I can find it real quick, because this might not cut it. Let's see what we're working with here. I did a Slipknot tribute show last New Year's Eve, and I still have that patch. Let's see what we got here. I have no idea that's coming through. It's pretty damn gnarly. That might be too harsh. It just sounds a bit harsh in my ears. Let me just go back to where I was. I'll jump in if I need it. Okay, back to right here, when things get going, I can really see his technique. And the first thing I want to point out is the incredible use of the floating thumb technique to just have a fulcrum point for all of this technicality and fingerstyle and fast string skipping and such. You really need like a home base just for your muscle memory to know how to do all that string skipping and fast playing when you're not necessarily looking down at your hand. And you can see that happen right here. Yeah. So he's got the thumb mounted on the pickup. It's usually how I play. In fact, I learned that technique from guys like Alex Webster and such, which I need to do Cannibal here on the channel. I was a bit more into his other stuff, Blotted Science, Conquering Dystopia. Cannibal was a band, Cannibal Corpse. They were just too heavy when I first was shown them. It was almost comical how heavy it was. Nonetheless, these guys taught me a lot about being swift, nimble, fast, but also relaxed. So floating thumb technique here. I might have to slow this video down in some parts to really get a good look. Really digging in there. Love the slap. And I don't see a lot of guys in this genre do slap. I mean, their tones are already so percussive and gritty that it doesn't really change much about the articulation. You can kind of notice when he went to slap it, it didn't jump out like your typical slap bass line, you know. it didn't have that just complete departure from the tone that's been happening. This is pretty homogeneous here. So maybe for a little extra percussiveness in the notes there, but I like that they use it. A lot of guys they stay away from slap, it seems like, in this genre. Okay, thankfully, I think I'm in the same tuning here. I feel like I hear the low B down there. I have no idea. I'm not going to get this riff and play it and learn it, but we're just going to talk about kind of what's going on here. It's a gnarly tone, man. Yeah, there's a lot of compression going on, so you'll notice when he slaps those notes, you would think it would be louder for visually how hard he's popping them, but it's the processing and the tone that keeps everything really smooth. You have to have that clarity and continuity in a bass tone like this for a genre like this. I think if I go back to this tone I was on, again, have no idea how it's coming through, it might translate a bit better. Let me just scoop it a little bit, because there's a bit of a mid scoop happening in there. You'll notice when I slap and I dig in, they don't sound that different, finger style. So that's sort of what's happening here tonally. And I'm using a bi-amped patch here, meaning that it's splitting the high end and the low end and keeping the low end cleaner and only distorting the top end, which bi-amping is a technique you want to use for those gritty bass tones that have a bit of everything. Because if you just kick on an overdrive pedal with bass, the first thing to go is usually the lows and the next is the mids. And you get this kind of fuzzy, weak sounding tone. So splitting the signal, whether you're doing it with real amps or in a digital modeler like me, I'm using the Helix down here. I have two signal paths. I'll show it up on the screen for you to show you what it looks like, the signal path here. But I know he uses Spectre basses. Spectres always have an amazing tone. I used a Spectre bass on the first album I played on with Scale the Summit, and that tone is just, I was so happy and proud of how it came out. Okay, keep it going. Love these camera angles. Ooh, slowing down a bit. Nice little walk down there. I also like that he's really digging in at a speed in which Oli could be alternate plucking. He's using one finger, which helps to keep maybe this chorus section. I assume the vocals are obviously taken out for the bass playthrough. I'm not a big fan of bands that do that, because I want to hear how maybe the bass line maybe plays off of the vocal part. It happens a lot, but I understand you want the bass to just have its space and be the focal point. Nonetheless, at a speed in which he can clearly alternate pluck this, he's going to just have that almost perfect transient note. Every note's very the same. Really helps in the mix to just cut through and be even. Whoa. Nice little thing there too. What was that? Almost like a... I don't know. His left hand and his right hand looked like they were not matching up, in the sense that it might be a little bit of a tricky part with how the phrasing actually is, but it just kind of had this look in the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Cool. Yeah, it's standard tuning, I think. cool. Man, this guy's a Swiss Army knife. Again, a lot of the bass players in this style of music I reviewed are just very purist in terms of finger style, you know, not really jumping out and adding in a lot of other strums. And this would be more akin to like the versatility of a player like Ryan Martini of Mudvayne, Soften the Glare, who really popularized, as far as I know, using a lot of different techniques and articulations in heavier styles as a bass player. He really coined that. But a lot of these sort of little strums, very nice. Keeps the bass part multi-dimensional. All that stuff happening there, if I slow it down frame by frame, it's like a mix of plucking, I think slapping and strumming, but just really thought out and how each articulation is going to affect the next. I need to maybe slap and then pluck and then strum back the other way. It's like an economy of motion type thing. So if I were to, let's say slap, I might be in the position to now go and then bring my finger back and go. So to craft a part like that, I imagine there was some thought that went into how do I make all of this really fluid in an economy of motion type of way. Watch this. Yeah, so if I go frame by frame, strum. It's like he was in a position to slap there. Strum. We're going to slap. Oop, it's buffering a bit. Slap the string. Strum outward maybe. Come down and pluck after strumming out, flicking the fingers out. Then using that recoil to come back up, slap down again, or maybe strum again there. Some of the frames are blurry, but if you watch it all in motion, it's a very fluid part. Yeah. Smooth. I'm just guessing. Woo! Shit. I mean, what's there to say about a part like this on my end? It's technical, it's fast, 16th note. You know, I'm just going to say it's pretty atonal, chromatic. These aren't the type of songs or parts where we're going to sit here and talk about what music theory is happening, what the chord progression is. It's just, it's going from more of a visceral feeling. It transcends the beauty of music theory. While it still exists, and I could really go through and find each note and figure it out, it wouldn't be the ultimate purpose of what this, a song like this is trying to get across. Visceral feeling, a chest punch, feel it, an extra sense rather than just hearing it. You got to feel music like this. But the technique is great. You'll notice he's keeping his fingers relatively close to the fretboard to make sure they're back in time. I talk about fly fingers a lot in other episodes, and it's still something I'm personally working on. I used to be a lot worse, but if you play a note like that, 4-note sequence, and as soon as I'm done playing the note, my finger comes way down here. Well, it's that much more space I have to cover to get back. You lose control that way because you might come down too quick and kind of go and just cause extra noise. Whereas if you keep your fingers fretted like this, but one finger per fret as well, if we're looking at all 4 frets down here, it's almost like the index is being assigned to fret 1, middle to fret 2, ring to fret 3, pinky to fret 4, and so on. That way he can just really, just whatever the pattern is, but still have his thumb mounted in the same place, kind of like the fulcrum point with the floating thumb technique on the plucking hand. Okay. Cool. I'm going to go back to my other tone. His tone sounds, it's like a halfway point between, and then, his is like a halfway point. I can't do that on the fly, but it's a really well-blended tone in terms of intensity, with a bit of dynamic still left in there. Another thing I want to point out too, and a player like me who came more from jazz and funk early on, I know I just kind of shat all over those guys in the intro, but I looked up to guys like Victor Wooten and such because they always rested their forearms on the bass like this. So if I can get an angle here, maybe you can see it better like that. Yeah. Down here. And I would kind of rock my arm back and forth to reach down, but it was just a place to rest it. You had a different angle of attack on the strings coming at them kind of more pointed. It's hard to get it in the light here. But if you look at his playing style, if I back up to that frame that kind of shows it here, there's no forearm resting going on the bass. So there's a different angle of attack that the plucks kind of go through and to the back of the bass rather than through the string and up to the next string. It kind of goes bam. It's almost like he's tapping on the pickup and the strings just happen to be in the way. So you get a different attack, kind of like versus, see right now I'm plucking and I'm landing on the string behind me rather than going through the string and landing on the pickup. And both are correct ways to play. It just depends on the tone, the articulation, and the attack you're going for. But if you want to dig in and get a more even sound, that's the way to do it. And it's also a little bit less of a strain because your wrist is straighter. So I tend to play with a lighter touch, whereas a lot of these heavier metal guys really dig in, but can make that even. I find that really impressive because it's hard to do. Brutal, man. Okay, there is some chord progression happening here. I take that back. There's been some pretty technical atonal bits, but nice sort of harmonic minor. I hear some G minor in there. Then there was like kind of a flat 2 Phrygian thing earlier. So I imagine this is more of the chorus of the song. Again, I just really wish the vocals were in here just for me to hear maybe song structure a bit. But nonetheless, a little bit more melodic here. I wonder if they're in 440. I just tuned this bass. Ooh, they're a little between it. Interesting. I could go all day nerding out on some great bass technique, especially in these heavier genres where there's less to analyze in terms of songwriting and such, because it's very riff heavy, riff centric, more about the notes and the stamina and the intensity, you know, just things I just talked about. But I love the craft of making that happen from a physicality standpoint. How to go through a song like that with evenness, continuity, consistency, even attack strokes, because you almost want your bass notes to kind of be max velocity, like some of the drum hits and snares and maybe some triggered drums. I look at these guys play stuff like that. I can just feel the forearm burn just watching it. But once again, thanks to Season of Mist for sending this my way. Cryptopsy's new record is just released back on June 20th of 2025. Get tickets yesterday for this tour. Kicks off today. Raleigh, North Carolina. It's going pretty long. There's 4 bands on the bill, Nile headlining. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. If you'd like to support the channel further, please come find us over on Patreon, patreon.com/LoneUniversity. We have an amazing, thriving community. I do full album breakdowns every month. It's just such a fun place to be, especially for me as a creator. I also have bass lessons, music theory lessons. If you're a player and you want to learn from me, come hang out with us. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. I love you all. We'll see you in the next one.